We're not your bank anymore, Dad snapped, his voice sharp with smugness. He stood there, arms folded, eyes gleaming with satisfaction, like he'd just delivered the final blow in a silent war I never agreed to fight. Mom didn't say a word. She just sipped her tea, pinky up like royalty, watching me pack my books from the kitchen table as if I were some unwanted guest overstaying her welcome. No warning, no empathy, just exile. Their final verdict, delivered over burnt toast and orange juice. You're 23. Grow up. We've done enough. You should thank us for what we already gave. By 10:04 a.m., I was on the sidewalk with my duffel bag, one cracked sandal, and a dead phone battery. But by 4:17 p.m., my phone buzzed, finally charged at a gas station cafe. A message from Jonathan, my family's longtime trust manager. Hi, Isla, just got their auto transfer request for $15,000 monthly allowances again. Shall I approve like always? I stared at the screen. Then I smiled and typed one word. Denied. My name is Isla Hart. I'm 23. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. What happens when the ones who raised you forget what you're really worth, and you have the power to remind them?
They thought they shut the door on me.
They didn't realize I had the keys to every other one in the house. And, trust me, I was just getting started. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was heartbroken. Because I was calculating. Their words kept looping in my head like static. We're not your bank. You owe us gratitude. We sacrificed so much for you. As if my existence had been some endless invoice they were waiting for me to pay. But here's the part they never knew. The trust wasn't theirs. It was mine. My grandfather, Mom's estranged father, had left everything to me after he passed.
Not to them.
Not a single cent. They didn't know that when they were cutting off the bank, they were severing their only lifeline. Jonathan had kept it quiet, per Grandpa's legal instructions. I'd receive full access the moment I turned 23. 3 days ago. So when I typed denied, I wasn't just rejecting their allowance. I was flipping the table they'd been eating from for years. I moved into a small apartment downtown the next morning, leased under my name. No roommates. No chaos. Just me, for walls and quiet power. By Friday, Mom texted. Isla, darling, your father's heart meds are out of stock at the usual pharmacy. Could you please? She didn't finish the sentence. Didn't have to. They'd grown so used to me funding their every comfort, they forgot I had limits. Or maybe they assumed I didn't. I replied with one line. Maybe it's time you grow up. You're 52. Then I turned off my phone. That night, I lit a candle. Not for peace, but for memory. I wouldn't forget the silence that followed. The silence of people realizing their ATM just learned how to say no. By Sunday, they were scrambling. My email pinged like a fire alarm, polite desperation, dressed in punctuation. Subject lines read, Hey, quick question. Family check-in, smiling face with smiling eyes. Just wondering about the mortgage. Mortgage? I nearly laughed. They'd used my trust to refinance their second vacation home. The one with the jacuzzi tub and the live, laugh, love sign nailed to the bathroom wall. Now they wanted my kindness to keep it afloat? I forwarded every email to Jonathan. He knew what to do. No more auto approvals. No more loopholes. No more lies. And then the cherry on top, I found the spreadsheets. Tucked in an old Dropbox folder Jonathan shared, labeled Historical Transactions, Heart Estate. Line after line. $8,700, Mom's spa retreat. $4,200, Dad's business seminar in Vegas. $19,600, furniture upgrade. $2,100, private school donation in Isla's name. I'd never heard of the place. They used me as a human credit card, all while calling me entitled when I asked for basic support in college, all while lecturing me about financial maturity. So I began drafting a letter, not to them, to every extended relative they still tried to impress. Aunt Carol, Uncle Bennett, Cousin Shelby with the lake house. They'd all get a copy. Not vindictive, just factual. just enlightening. Attached? A polite explanation of why Mom and Dad's social invitations might soon be budget-conscious, and the ledger of every luxury they'd build to their daughter's future. But I wouldn't send it yet.
No.
Not until they crossed one more line. And trust me, they always do. It happened on a Wednesday. A call from an unknown number. I let it ring out. Seconds later, voicemail. I played it on speaker while brushing my hair. Hi, Isla. It's Pastor Reynolds. I've been asked to officiate your parents' renewal of vows this Sunday. I heard you're covering the reception costs again. That's very generous. My comb froze mid-stroke. Reception costs? Again? I opened my banking app. Nothing touched. Then I logged into the trust backend. There it was, a pending invoice. $11,500, catering deposit, heart vow renewal.
Approved by Dad.
2 days after his "we're not your bank" speech. I stared at the screen in disbelief. Then I laughed. The kind of laugh that doesn't reach your chest, just lives in your throat like static. He had the audacity to call me entitled, while sliding his old fingers across digital funds that weren't his. Jonathan had flagged the transaction, waiting on my green light. I clicked reject. Then, on impulse, I emailed Pastor Reynolds. Dear Pastor, there must have been a misunderstanding. I won't be attending the vow renewal, nor am I funding the event. Wishing them a meaningful celebration nonetheless. Regards, Isla Hart. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. Mom, why would you embarrass us like this? Do you know how this makes us look? Family will talk, Isla. I stared at her words and replied, then give them something worth talking about. I could feel the air shift. Something had cracked, not just in them, but in me. This wasn't rebellion anymore. It was reclamation. Thursday morning brought silence. No texts, no calls, no digital tantrums, just silence, which, for my parents, was its own kind of war drum. I went for a walk, trying to shake off the tension. But halfway through the park, my phone buzzed again. Jonathan. Hey, Isla, just got a notice from the family attorney. Your parents filed a formal request to restructure the trust. They're claiming financial dependence based on parental investment and long-term caregiving. Want me to shut it down? My breath caught. They weren't just asking for money anymore. They were trying to rewrite history, reframe it like they raised me alone. Like they were owed royalties for every diaper, every piano lesson, every sacrifice they ever tallied in their mental spreadsheet. It was laughable, except it wasn't, because this wasn't about money. It was about control, and losing it was making them desperate. I told Jonathan to proceed legally, full audit, statement of distributions, timeline of inheritance access. Paper trails don't lie, but people do. And my parents? They were masters of smiling while cutting you open. I knew their next move would be public. That's how they operated. Shame by spectacle. Manipulation by performance. So, I prepped for the storm. Set my social accounts to private. Downloaded every email thread, every bank receipt, and printed them. Neatly. Chronologically. Because if they wanted to make this a stage, I would build the spotlight myself. And when they stepped into it, they'd have no script, no applause. Only truth. And paper cuts. Sunday arrived. Their vow renewal, the performance of the year. I didn't attend, of course. But I watched the live stream. Yes, they live streamed it. Mom in a champagne-colored gown. Dad in a smug little tuxedo, adjusting his cufflinks like a man who still believed he ran the show. I watched cousins clap, friends post stories, and old family friends comment. Such a beautiful example of commitment. Love always wins. They had no idea the caterer canceled last minute, or that the floral vendor sued for a bounce check, or that the reception venue was locked when the guests arrived.
Because I had cut the pipeline.
They couldn't siphon gold from a well they publicly disowned, but they tried to hide the collapse, grinned through it, sipped sparkling cider like it was champagne, made do, until Monday, until I sent the letter, printed,
Bound. Mailed.
to everyone in that audience. Inside, a calm, respectfully worded statement explaining my withdrawal from family financial entanglements. No bitterness, no drama, just facts, bank statements, screenshots, emails, receipts, and at the end, a personal note. Love doesn't demand repayment. Manipulation does. I've chosen to walk away from both. By Tuesday, the family group chat exploded. Cousin Shelby texted. They said you were unstable. But this is precision. Uncle Bennett called me, just to say, you did the right thing, sweetheart. And then Mom called, 12 times. But I didn't answer. Not yet. I was letting the silence teach her what my words never could. Wednesday morning, a knock at my door. I peeked through the peephole. Jonathan, not in a suit, in jeans and a hoodie. Figured I'd deliver this one in person, he said, handing me a manila envelope.
Inside,
A handwritten letter.
for my father.
Not an apology. Not even close. Just, we're disappointed. We raised you better than this. Money isn't everything, Isla. Family is. You'll regret this when we're gone. Signed, Dad. No love. No warmth. Just guilt disguised as legacy. I folded it once, then again, until the paper formed a perfect square of nothing. I placed it in my drawer not out of sentiment, but as a reminder. Then I looked at Jonathan. Ready? I asked. He nodded. We headed to the office of the estate attorney. I'd requested a meeting to update the trust. A new clause. Effective immediately. If I passed before the age of 40, the funds wouldn't revert to my parents. They'd go to a scholarship for girls from emotionally manipulative homes. A direct rewrite of the narrative. One they couldn't erase. Later that night, I lit another candle. Not for memory this time, but for release. The house I grew up in? It was never a home. It was a bank vault with chandeliers. Now, I had something better. Solitude. Stability. Silence. The kind that doesn't punish, just exists. Mom texted me again at midnight. One day you'll understand what it's like to be a parent. I stared at the screen, then powered off my phone. Because the real inheritance wasn't money. It was freedom. And I wasn't giving it back. The seasons turned. Fall brought gold to the trees and quiet to my soul. I started volunteering at a community legal aid office. Nothing fancy, just listening to people like me. People who had been made to feel expensive for simply existing. One afternoon, I sat across from a girl named Marcy, 18. Tears dried on her cheekbones. My mom says I'm ungrateful, that I ruined her credit. But she used my name to buy a car. I reached into my bag and handed her something. Not cash. Not tissues. A document. A blank template of financial boundaries and personal agency. Signed with authority. Labeled, yours. It was the same paper I'd used months ago. The first form I filed when I decided I'd no longer be a vessel for someone else's greed. She looked up. Hope flickered behind her exhaustion. That's when I knew. Revenge doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it whispers in courtrooms, in scholarships, in blank pages handed to someone who thinks their story is already over. I never went back home. I didn't need to. They still host parties. Still pose for photos with names they used to mock me with. But something's different now. The invitation stopped. The emergency calls went silent. And for the first time, they were truly alone. Not because I left, but because I stopped funding the illusion. Justice didn't arrive in the form of vengeance. It arrived wrapped in boundaries, delivered in clarity, and sealed with truth. And as I sat in my tiny apartment that evening, candle lit, tea in hand, I felt it. Not anger, not sorrow, just peace. Earned.